This is a disaster. We are so screwed, man.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at the 10 absolute poor excuses of video game remasters. The classics deserved better than whatever garbage these were.
Folks need heroes, Chief, to give them hope. So smile, would ya?
Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Now, we aren't saying that Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, or even Super Mario Galaxy are bad games, and let us preface this by saying this trilogy is in a much better state now than it was at launch. But for the 9 months it was on the market, Super Mario 3D All-Stars was just sloppy. Galaxy was fine overall, and Mario 64 looked about as rough as we expected, but Sunshine had debug mode left on in some areas and lacked support for general settings like inverted camera controls. Of course, the most frustrating aspect was the limited availability. As we briefly mentioned earlier, Nintendo sold the game for only 9 months before pulling it from sale everywhere. Why? Halo, the Master Chief Collection.
You look nice.
Thank you.
Much like Mario 3D All-Stars, Halo the Master Chief Collection is in a way better condition these days. Heck, we'd call it one of the best collections of games that everyone should own. But back when it first launched in 2014, it was horrendous.
Master Chief, defend this station.
Yes, sir. I need a weapon.
Right this way.
While the offline campaigns were fine for the most part, the online portion was a freaking train wreck, as matchmaking refused to work. You couldn't play any co-op games or even PvP modes without some kind of nonsensical error. Like we said, the collection is now in a far better state, but at the time, it was abysmal.
Optics, totally fried. And let's not even talk about the power supply. You know how expensive this gear is, son?
Mafia II Definitive Edition.
Never in my life had I seen anything as fantastic as Empire Bay. It was beautiful.
When it was announced that the original Mafia titles would be getting remastered and brought forward to modern hardware, with the first game getting fully remade, folks were ecstatic. The first game was brought forward with little to no trouble. As for Mafia II, oof.
Think of it as a welcome home present. And don't worry, the documents will be clean. Trust me.
Well, thanks.
Players were greeted with a litany of technical problems in both audio and visuals. It wasn't uncommon to see objects and character models clipping into each other, and some of the visual bugs are still very much present. We're just glad Hangar 13 and D3T managed to fix up most of it before long. But like we said, some of the problems, they're still in there, man.
The working man's a sucker, that's for damn sure.
You said it.
Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy Definitive Edition.
And all of Vice City's big players are gonna be there, okay? I have an invite. Of course I have an invite. But there's no way that I'm going out there, sticking my head out the door. No way.
The early 2020s saw the beginning of society finding ways to integrate AI into the workplace. Among the first of the gaming companies to do this was Rockstar Games and Grove Street Games. In an effort to remaster GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas for modern platforms, Grove Street Games utilized artificial intelligence to upscale textures while retaining the source code as much as possible. The results were less than pleasant.
A time for rewarding one's friends and liquidating one's enemies, amigo.
So many of our favorite characters wound up looking worse than they ever did before, while Liberty City, Vice City, and San Andreas looked more alien, with incorrect signage, misaligned tiles, and visual effects ruining shots of certain cutscenes. Updates have since fixed most of the games, but many folks are still scorched from this release. At least Red Dead Redemption went by a little smoother when it was brought to modern platforms a year later.
Well, I I, for one, am grateful, Mrs. Bush, that they are finally bringing civilization to this savage land.
I could not agree with you more.
Parappa the Rapper Remastered.
Until you find the things I'll teach ya, sure to beat ya. Nevertheless, you'll get a lesson from teacher, now kick.
The hip-hop hero Parappa does have a place in the modern world to succeed and grow, if only Sony were to allow him to do so. But ever since the failure that was Parappa the Rapper Remastered, we may never get to see him get the one-up on Joe Chin ever again. What went wrong? Well, for starters, there wasn't really anything touched on here. Japan Studio just took the PSP port, touched up the visuals, and called it a day.
Just because the rhythm is slow, that don't mean that you can't flow.
Nothing was done to improve the timing of inputs with the beat of the songs, thus maintaining the nightmare that was Stage 4. Few people stuck with the game after about 30 minutes, and now it's impossible for anyone to even want to believe anymore. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1. The Metal Gear Solid HD collection was already a bit of a hiccup way back in 2011, but this was Konami's chance to do right by their IP and show they were ready to come back to the games industry full force. But when the first volume of the Master Collection dropped, that hope just wasn't in the cards.
What are you fighting for?
If we make it through this, I'll tell you.
While the games did launch in stable conditions, players were disappointed to find that nothing, and I mean nothing, was touched. The controls were still whack, and the resolution was stuck at 720p. On top of that, the games were still running at 30 frames per second, while the first Metal Gear Solid was stuck at a 4:3 aspect ratio. Talk about doing the bare minimum. Tales of Symphonia Remastered.
What was that? Settle down. It would seem that the time for the Oracle has come.
Tales of Symphonia already suffered from a shoddy remaster when it was ported over from GameCube and PS2 to PlayStation 3 in 2013. While it did include added content, it did so at the expense of frame rate and less cell shading. It wound up making the game look generic. So how does the latest remaster make it worse? Simply put, bad optimization. The frame rate fluctuates more than its previous versions ever did, and the load times were far too frequent and overly long. To make matters worse, it does not include the sequel like the PS3 version did. Considering you can buy the PS3 version on Steam for $20, or $5 if you catch it during a sale, this iteration for Switch, PS4, and Xbox One was just unnecessary and piss poor in execution.
This guy's incredibly strong.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Silent Hill HD Collection.
You promised to take me there again someday, but you never did.
Going back to Konami one more time, Silent Hill HD Collection has been among the worst titles in the company's catalog. On the surface, everything seemed like it was going to be a simple touch-up on visuals and controls for the PS3 and Xbox 360. What we got was a significantly inferior version of Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3.
I was just...
No, it's okay. I didn't mean to scare you.
In addition to various audio glitches plaguing cutscenes, various moments had removed the fog that kept the games tense. And since they fixed it, now there's too much fog to where you have absolutely no freaking clue as to where you're going. Easily seeing stuff more than several feet ahead of you made the games less scary, and now, not even being able to see a centimeter in front of you is just frustrating. And it's why some fans have refused to forgive Konami to this day.
Where am I?
Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Job's done.
Blizzard has been struggling to maintain fans ever since this disaster. Reforged was to be the long-awaited return of Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos, a real-time strategy game widely beloved for its story, gameplay, level design, and wealth of support from its community. This was the game that would inspire and help pave the way of success to games like Dota 2 and League of Legends. But when making Reforged, Blizzard fumbled in the worst ways possible. For starters, Reforged launched with many features missing that Blizzard had originally advertised, like new cutscenes as well as pre-existing features being noticeably removed. Then there was the end-user license agreement that said any mods made within the game would become property of Blizzard Entertainment, meaning anything you made would be owned by them. And this all goes without mentioning the plague of bugs and glitches that could be found around every corner.
Our hero has fallen.
Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. Oh boy. What an utter show. Aspyr had already dropped the ball when remastering Knights of the Old Republic and its sequel. Remember that new content that was supposed to come with it after launch? Never happened. Cancelled. Maybe they've learned and will give Battlefront the respect it deserves then. Not on your life, sport. What do you think this is? Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection was marred with all kinds of problems. Where do we even begin? There are a handful of audio problems, one of which almost caused me some ear pain from playing the game while wearing headphones. Then you have a wonky UI for menu navigation between selecting units and moving around the Galactic Conquest map, and worst of all, your online multiplayer is busted to hell and lacking any kind of support. And what makes this whole situation even more aggravating is that Aspyr only spent enough money to secure 3 servers for the multiplayer. How did you not know this launch was going to be as big as this and not properly prepare? Battlefront Classic Collection has pissed off so many fans that at the time of this video, it is the 9th most hated game on Steam. And trust us, you are better off going and buying the older versions of these games, even the games from EA and DICE. That's how bad this is.
Reinforcements are being depleted.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.